So it's a great day. It's a God day. This is the day that God has made, and we are certainly here to rejoice in it, to let everything else go. Rahim was talking about that, and be present, because joy is the infallible evidence of the presence of God. This is what we know. So I know that you're all waiting for a joke. I've got a good one. So there were two boys, twins, 8 years old, and they were always in mischief. The teachers were calling, the principal was calling. Whatever they did, it was mischief. So finally, the mother was so exhausted. So she called the minister, and she said, would you see the boys and talk to them, because they're seemingly incorrigible. But she said, I'd like you to see them one-on-one. So the first boy goes in, and of course, he's not sure what's going to happen. So the minister comforts him, and he says, Johnny, where is God? Well, the little boy looks around, so he doesn't answer. So, Johnny, tell me, where is God? Well, Johnny, by this time, has no idea what he's talking, where's God? So the minister said, Johnny, think about it. Where is God? Well, at that point, Johnny bolts out of the church. He comes back home to his twin. And the twin said, my gosh, what happened? He said, oh, it's not good news. God is missing, and they think we did it. And I see Chris back there. It's good to see you, Chris. Always good to see you. So anyway, I want to start with a meaningful story, or meaningful to me anyway. It is about a monk an abbey that's full of monks, or was at one time full of monks, and it was a thriving center. People came from all over. They had applicants all the time wanting to join the monastery. The grass was beautiful. People would come with their children and sit on the grass and have picnics because they felt the peace of the monastery. Well, as years went on and many of the monks died away, and there was more bickering and arguing among them, who's going to do what, and you haven't done the lawn right, and blah, blah, blah. And pretty soon, nobody was sitting outside. Nobody was applying to the monastery anymore. They felt that they were dying. So the head of the monastery, the abbot, took a walk one day. He was walking through the woods, and he went to the rabbi's home. There was a rabbi in town that was truly considered a very holy man. So he goes in and he sits with the rabbi, and he said, our monastery is in deep trouble. He said, I think it's a dying entity. Nobody's coming to visit anymore. We have no more applicants. He said, you, Rabbi, in all of your wisdom, he said, what would you tell me to tell these monks, our abbey, what we can do, what we can change? Something's not right. So the rabbi thought for a very long time, and he said, I don't know what to tell you. He said, but I think one thing I do know is one of you is the Messiah. Well, the abbot just one of us is the Messiah? He said, one of you is the Messiah. So the abbot goes back to the monastery, and they said, well, what did he say? What did the rabbi say? He said, one of you is the Messiah. Well, they were looking around, and they said, well, it couldn't be Father Paul, because he's always complaining, and it couldn't be Father John because, he's lazy. And then all of a sudden, the abbot said, one of you is the Messiah. Well, they took a deep breath. Well, maybe it is Brother John, or maybe it is Brother Larry. And what could it be? Could it be me, the Messiah? Everything changed in the monastery. They started to get along. The lawn was kept beautifully. There was a feeling of peace anchored there. Young people were coming back with their families, sitting on the lawn. They had applicants, again, wanting to join the monastery, because he said one of them is the Messiah. So if we looked around today, who would we think is the Messiah? Or could it be all of us? That Christ within each and every one of us It doesn't miss anybody ever. Each one of us comes in with that Christ presence within us, the divinity within our souls. And we have a divine appointment here in this lifetime to be the representation of God in this lifetime. To represent, now how can I represent God? What are you even talking about? Me, the Messiah? Because we are here to exude peace. We are here to love. We are here to be the peacemakers. We are here to enlighten. We are here to go forth as the light. Jesus said, "Ye are the light of the world." And what we were just talking about, when we go forward, are we going with Murphy's Law? Oh, what a day. Or we go forward saying, oh my goodness, this is the day that God has made, and I am going to keep my divine appointment today. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said that the Christ is not limited to one person, but is the divine potential within each person. Now, Fillmore wrote many, many books. One of them he wrote about Jesus Christ the healer, but he was very clear. He intertwined the word Christ with Messiah. And Messiah, when you look it up, is a word meaning the anointed one. Well, was it just Jesus the anointed one? Or are you and I the anointed ones? Because each one of us carries such a special gift with us. But when we come into the world, as we speak about here, we forget. And we start looking out there. Remember the country western song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places? We're looking for love in all the wrong places. We're looking at abundance from out there. Why am I not more abundant? Why? Because we're looking outside of ourselves. And that's not how we're set up. That's not how we're made. We are made to look inside, which is the exact opposite of what most people think. They are looking outside. When we look sometimes, I lived in California for a long time, when we look at people in California, many of them, the actors, have so much money. They have fame, everything they've ever looked for, and they are miserable. They are absolutely miserable. Not all of them, but many of them. The drugs, the alcohol, because they are looking outside for approval, outside of themselves for fame. But it's when they start looking within, that's when the light shines. That's when they know that something else, it is not me, it is the I within me that is doing the work. And that's your story and my story. It is not me, the little Barbara, because by myself I couldn't get out of bed in the morning, but it is the I within me that says, when I wake up, what is my mission today? What am I to do today? How can I represent the presence of God to each person I meet? Now, can I do this every day? No, I cannot. However, the more that we practice it, the more we can do. Be still. Remember the psalm, be still and know. So that's why we emphasize meditation here, to be still enough to hear the voice. There's a story about Nasruddin. He was a Hindu, or maybe Sanskrit. It goes back thousands of years, and he was kind of a figure that people wrote about to make examples of. Well, Nasruddin got up every morning and went to the top of his place where he was living, and he was looking for God. I know God will show up. I know it. And he kept going up, and every day, this was just at the crack of dawn, he knew God was going to show up. This went on for months. And finally someone said to him, have you found God? Has he shown up for you? And he said, no, but he has shown up inside of me. Through the silence, I felt the presence of God. So that is why we meditate and we pray, because it's not from all the chattering we do. It's the quiet, that still small voice that says, you are my beloved. You are here because your meaning has purpose. And when the meaning and purpose is no longer, then it's time to go to a different dimension. But we underestimate ourselves, don't we? We think, what good am I? Each one of us has our own world. It may not be Oprah's world, where it's a huge world, or a president, but we came in with a special appointment for the people that are around us. Each one of us have that circle that we have within our own life that we meet. These are our, so to speak, these are our, what would we say? It's not the congregants, but this is our work, to be the presence of God to each and every person that we meet. It's a big assignment, but oh, if we go within and feel the divinity. Think of Jesus, the anointed one. He never called himself Jesus Christ in the Gospels. What he referred to is the Father within. And he would pray about that. He would say, it is the Father within that doeth the work. Well, we breathe the same molecules, the same air that Jesus had, that Jesus breath, that breath is still around us. You know, it goes circle, circle. So it's not that Jesus did this. It is what I can do with this Christ presence that Jesus represented. So what I can do. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the great astrophysicist, tells us we are all stardust. Isn't that a beautiful thought? It's not this little me that, you know, worries and little things that annoy us. What if we knew every breath that we took, that was the breath Jesus took? What if we really believed, I am stardust? What if we really believed my life has meaning and purpose? What if we really believed that? How would our days change? It would no longer be Murphy's Law. It would be something is here to teach me. Now, how can I get into a higher vibration and move above it? Because Jesus is always saying, if you can imagine, come, follow me. Follow me. Let the rest go. Can you pick up your things that seem so important to you from the outside world and at least leave them behind for 10 minutes every day and follow me into the silence where I say, Father, Father within, do the work through me today. The Father who is, we can call it the Father within, we can call it Jesus within, the Messiah. But that is lives, moves, and has its being as each and every one of us. And not to mistake that. If we could really see who we are in the mind of God, if we could see the light. You know, I often talk about the kaleidoscope of light, of life, and each part is so beautiful. You've seen the little crystals. But if we don't play our part, if we decide to sit on the sidelines when we are really called into the field to play the game of life, then that light doesn't shine. Again, Spirit is always saying, come, get off the bleachers of your life. Come, get onto the field and play the game of life. See how well you can do it. See how often you can see me as you look at someone else. Can we do that? That's a huge assignment, isn't it? To see God within every person. Eric Butterworth said, we become what we behold. So it has to be within, because if it's not within, it's not without. When someone says to you, gosh, you bring such peace into the world, or peace within the room, they cannot see that unless they are peace. If someone tells you how lovely you are, or how handsome, or how nice you, it doesn't matter. If they do not have that within themselves, they cannot see it in you. That's why two people can go to a play or a movie. One comes out and says, it was a wonderful movie. Did you see the beauty? And the other said, I didn't see anything. They're coming in at different levels of consciousness. We can only see who we are. So when you tell someone, gosh, I loved what you said, it means such meaning, that means that you also have that meaning inside of you. You can resonate. When people can't resonate, they can't see it. Does that make sense to you? So when I look at you and I say this is the most beautiful congregation, that each one of you are such a light. You see, I couldn't see that, and I have the chills, if I didn't have it in myself. That light within me is shining so brightly in you. What a joy to behold. You know, Louise Hay has a terrible exercise. We teach it all the time in class. She says you go to the mirror every morning and you tell yourself, I love you. I just love you. That is a hard assignment. Trust me, and especially if I have no makeup when the bank doesn't even recognize my facial recognition. But what if we got up every morning and we looked in the mirror and we said, what would we say to ourselves? We would say, I am the divine presence of God. I am the peace that passes all understanding. And look ourselves in the eye and really set the tone for our day. Because I am is the I am of us. So if you looked in the mirror in the morning and you want to set your day and remind yourself of what you're here for, of who you are, give me some thoughts of what you would say. Anybody? Joy. Oh, Reverend Sandra's joy. Yes, you are. So with that tone of looking in the mirror and saying, I am joy, and breathing it in, Reverend Sandra will take that through her day. I am joy. I am the joy that God is. Absolutely. What else could we say to ourselves? I am peace. We are going to anchor peace. And we really have to inculcate that, breathe it in. I am peace. Then we will go forward and be that peace. Who said something else? Blessed. I am blessed. Thank you. Yes, I am blessed. What if we turned that around now and said, and I am the blessing. I take that forth into this day. But if we looked at each other, or looked in the mirror, and not saying, oh, how I love you today, at least that's very challenging for me. It has been for 30 years, just so you know. But when I turn it around and say, I am the light today of the world. I am, the Christ within me is blossoming. I am peace. I am love. What if we did that every morning and anchored our day in that quality? Because how we know God is through qualities. We know God through peace, through love, through joy, through grace, through ease, through divine order in our day, through divine right activity. Because God is all of these things. God is beauty. Every time you see a rose, you're looking at the face of God as beauty. Every time, God is from the brightest star, because we believe here in Unity that God is everywhere present. So we would see the brightest star. That is the beautiful face of God right there. We can look at the ocean and the beautiful dolphins dancing. It's all God. Can we look at each other and say to ourselves, you too are God? We don't run down the beach like what's her name did, yelling, I am God. That did not do her press a lot of good. What was her name? Pardon? No, it was the other one, Shirley MacLaine. So anyway, that was a little before the time of probably running down the beach. Yes, that was Shirley. But yet to believe that God is all that I am. I am not all God is, but God is all that I am. And really get a grasp. We dismiss ourselves so easily. Well, surely it's not I. Surely Brother John, it can't be Brother John. It couldn't be brothers. But what if it is? What if it truly is Carrie? What if it truly is Sandra? What if it truly is Paul? What if we saw each other in that light? What if, when we go out into the congregation or into the community room, what if we looked at each other differently? What if instead of saying, I really don't like that shirt in our mind, we're saying, I see the Christ in you. I see the beauty of who you are because you are a part of me. We're all intertwined. There is no separation. It is not you and it is not me. It is we together. And it's recognizing that no matter what is going on in our life, when we can turn within to the divine physician, to the divine healer, to the peace that passes all human understanding, something else takes place. Because Everything is vibration now. That's all they talk about. As you vibrate higher, you bring more good into your life. You bring more prosperity into your life. You bring more love. But when we're down and out and criticizing this one, criticizing that one, the vibration we're carrying is so low that we're going to attract exactly that. But get up and think of yourself the higher vibration. I am here because I accepted this divine appointment at a very challenging time in the world. I am here. And if I just change the life of one person because I recognize them for who they are, I see beyond any facade. You know, I've spoken about this where I have a daughter-in-law that is challenging. Long story anyway. I haven't been able to see my grandchildren in 9 years. Some of them, many of them I have. But when I can get out of that upset and I can see her as a child of God that's been wounded, if I can see her beyond all of this other stuff, the beauty that she is, then everything changes. And if you don't think that person feels it, of course they feel it. The higher vibration, we see you and we see each other, they recognize it too. They may not know what they're recognizing, but they are uplifted. Their days are different because you have completed your divine assignment that day. You have changed the way someone else sees themselves. And Eric Butterworth says, every time we change somebody else, we have changed ourselves. So when we go forward in our family, that's our big work. Ram Dass said, if you think you're evolved, spend a week with your family, right? and yet we wonderful family, so it was just, and Ram Dass also says something so profound. He said, we're all just walking each other home. Isn't that a beautiful thought? It is not you out there and me here. We're all together. One life, one activity. That is the basis of unity. So how can we live that one life and see the beauty that is in another? To forgive anything of ourselves so that we truly are a clear vessel for the Spirit, the love, the grace, the peace of God to flow through. Every time we look out there for love, I'm not saying that we don't meet the right person, but we have to be the right person. So it's always an inside job. When we're hurting, when we think that we cannot stand another minute of the pain, if instead of looking outside of ourselves, we turn within for the promise that I will never leave you or forsake you. I am with you always. So what if we did a little exercise today? You don't have to do it if you don't want to. You can just stay seated. But there's a Sanskrit word many of you are familiar with. It's called namaste. And it means the God in me meets the God in you. So what if we just stood, if you're willing, and if not, then just don't do it. But if we just stood up and looked around at each other, don't have to say one word, just look at each other and see the beauty in each person and recognize that you too are a part of me. You too are this precious, precious child of God that has accepted a divine appointment to be here now, to represent the power, the grace, the peace of God, the love of God. So what if we just stood up, if you're willing, and just look around, perhaps look around at everybody's eyes. And instead of seeing what they're wearing, we're going to see beyond that. We're going to see beyond that. You are a part of me. And we live, we move, and we have our being in God together. Together. Take a deep breath. Oh, thank you. I forgot. Take a deep breath. And let's be so grateful for this day. Be so grateful for each other. And this week, let's really practice. We move within. We are the monks now that say, yes, I am the Messiah. Not from ego, but from knowing we're keeping a divine appointment, a divine assignment. So have a seat. Oh, and so another deep breath. And if you can just realize how precious you are and how much meaning you have in others' lives. And it's not out there. It's within. It's the Father within, the Christ within that doeth the work. Each one of us are so blessed. And God is so good. Another deep breath. And so it is. Amen. Amen.